Hey guys, I'm Dee. I'm the traitor to my gender, and
I mean, she likes
I'm the traitor to my gender. And then we got Mike, where he's the guy that all the feminists want to hate fuck, and then we have John here, who is the guy that all of the racists, when you want to bring someone home to your racist dad and make him mad.
And again, I've had this done. It's fun, actually. I enjoy it. Mostly because I have found the dads aren't always so racist.
Taking the dad home for dinner.
Hey, the dads end up not disliking me.
It's like that Dave Chappelle skit, right?
Right. So,
often awkward start. What are we talking about today, Dee?
We are talking about feminism. I personally am the most anti-feminist woman that I ever met. So this is, I'm pretty sure.
I'm so excited.
If you put the three of us all together, I'm the one who's the most anti-feminist of the bunch.
Boobies. We're going to talk about boobies, guys. It's going to be awesome. I can't contain myself.
Yes, we are. Apparently, like boobs are now sexist.
Well, shit, that's all, guys.
How does this work exactly? You either like boobs and you're sexist, or you don't like boobs
and you're gay.
Or you're gay, yeah.
Well, even gay guys like boobs.
Everybody likes boobs.
I like boobs.
That's exactly my point.
Well then, see, everybody likes boobs. This is amazing. That is absolutely
show over.
It's a unifying thing.
Okay, but basically, I want to sort of talk about the ridiculousness that is the third wave feminist movement, and I sort of want to talk about how we got there and how it's detrimental to an actual discussion off of things. I'll try and keep. I mean, I don't say that I have like a super personal perspective on things, but at the same time, I think it's important for it to be a discussion, and I don't think that like one race or one sex is necessarily better than the other sex, and that sort of seems to be where third wave feminism is coming from to me. And I also think it's sort of ridiculous because, like, they say we want to whore around, and then at the same time they don't. They're so puritanical about certain things that it's just like, come on, guys, get your act together on this. So I
always find that funny because it's like you're going to liberate women from men by giving men exactly what they want. How does that work?
It's like free the nipple, right? So need I say more?
Hey guys. Hey, we want consequence-free sex. Cool. All right. I'm down. Let's go. Your place or mine.
And that's, I mean, the whole destruction of the nuclear family, you can get to it on like a sort of, I mean, it's sort of Marxist. I mean, it is Marxist, the destruction of the nuclear family. And I think part of the reason that feminism is sort of dying is because of the whole introduction of intersectional politics. If I could put in my 2 cents. I mean, technically,
the whole concept of the patriarchy is the Marxist superstructure. So Marx's really only contribution, by the way. Marx didn't contribute shit to economics. Like, he's been debunked. I mean, he does not. His economic theories are garbage. Let's just get that out of the way. His only contribution was to the realm of philosophy, maybe, and that was the concept of the superstructure. The idea of the superstructure is you have this thing. He calls it the superstructure, and basically, it influences everything. So anytime you want to introduce a new system of thought, a new philosophy, a new idea, you can't, because the superstructure will influence that new philosophy in such a way as to bring it back to the status quo. So with the patriarchy, it's like, well, women feel pressured to vote a certain way. No, they fucking don't. No, they don't. Like, my wife asked me, who should I vote for? I'm like, I don't know, honey. Who will vote for whoever you want? She's like, I don't care. Well, then don't vote for anyone.
Well, and this was also said in when it comes to women specializing in STEM fields. Remember that even if you can prove that women's own personal choices are the reason why they don't tend to be prevalent in STEM fields, we're told, oh no, it's because there's this subtle, structure that tells women don't go into STEM. Like, I remember that commercial. I don't know if anyone remembers it. The one with like little girls trying to do scientific stuff, and the parents would be like, "Oh no, leave that to your brother. Put that down. You don't need to deal with that." Who the hell does that? Nobody does that.
Here's a couple of points that you guys both brought up that I do want to talk about, like both of those in more detail. So going back to Mike, Hillary Clinton just basically came out with her book where she feels that she still talking about why she isn't the ruling queen, president of the United States.
Oh, right, okay.
So don't worry, Hillary, you'll always be a queen bitch in our eyes. And in our hearts.
Okay, but anyways, she is talking about how like either white women didn't vote for her because they were pressured not to, which no, or where she was berating other women for not voting for her in her book. Yeah. Because how could you neglect your duty to vote? And a few pundits brought up, like, you're not upset that they didn't vote, you're upset that they didn't vote for you.
Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, so good to I spent so much time listening to that. It was
it was never like vote for Hillary strong, like
it's kind of cutting a little bit.
For Hillary because she.
D, you're cutting out. Your cat killed the internet.
Yep.
I'm gonna kill that fucking cat. I swear to God. I'm gonna kill that fucking cat.
Do not have.
You're cutting out, love.
I don't know. I think that was sexist what you just said right there.
I cannot hear you. I could have thought I'm going to murder that pussy, but I think that would have been open to bad interpretation.
Yeah. Oh man, but I think. Oh, here, hold on.
It's not me this time. Yay!
Yeah, I didn't lock him in the room.
Well, anyway, let's see. Can we? Oh, you can do it that way?
Yes, sir.
I didn't notice that before.
I just noticed it today. So, like, hey, it's all good.
Well,
and for those of you that are still watching this clusterfuck of a show, first of all, we appreciate it. Second of all, we're still learning. Please be patient.
Well, yeah, the connections are a little bit. They vary in quality, I think, across the board here. But
yeah, to Dee's point, like, as soon as she gets back here, we'll let her cut in. It's just kind of funny, like the way she insulted all white women.
Yeah,
it's like, they're stupid. They didn't vote for me because they're fucking morons and they don't know how to think for themselves.
Yeah, they only do what their husband. What was it? Husbands, brothers, and apparently bosses. I was not aware that women generally voted the way their boss told them to. Is that how that works? I was going to say.
Talk to their boss about politics.
Well, that's just it. It's like, well, my boss said I couldn't vote for Trump. Well, that's the stupid thing. Is that's again? Let's just think about what she said and just picture a scenario where that happens and just figure how unbelievably ridiculous it sounds. Is your boss tells you, I really don't think you should vote for Trump. Oh, well, I guess I shouldn't. Really? That's what you're going with? Yeah. I find that funny that she actually in public say that your boss stopped you from voting for me. No, I'm pretty sure it was the fact that you're an appalling human being.
How the fuck is my boss gonna know? No, I do not tell my coworkers my fault. I mean, I kind of do, like the friends. At lunch. D, are you back?
Do we have you?
D,
do we got you?
We love you. We miss you.
Everybody loves you.
Come back to the lunch. Join us. Join us.
We are your friends. You. Do not run away.
Hey, she can hear me. Can you hear? I can hear you. Okay. Are you there? Hello,
I can hear
TV land.
Oh, she can. I think we just can't hear her very well.
God damn it. Get some headphones, girl. I think your cat's fucking everything up.
Is that what
I blame the cat. I'm blaming her cat for like everything that goes wrong tonight.
Well, that was my rule. When in doubt, blame the cat. So. But well, yeah. But I mean.
Yeah. Hey, wait. I heard D. D. This is going to be the entertainment portion of tonight's hour.
Right. You know, I guess because I don't know what was on cue. If D is able to.
Can you guys see me?
We can hear you and see you. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, did you talk about Hillary's election blaming?
We more dicked around while we waited for you to come back.
Mostly her whining and you know basically talking about how she,
how stupid white women are.
Yeah, how ridiculous the scenario it is, especially because she blamed even her bosses for not for why they couldn't. And again, how ridiculous is it to think your boss at work tells you don't vote for this candidate, and you're like, oh well, I guess I can't vote for that candidate. How insulting is that? I mean,
It's so bad. It's like I don't think that you have any type of meaning to yourself or any type of agency for yourself that you have to listen to a man to tell you how to vote in the men in your life.
That's empowering.
Like, no. I'm sorry. You're a corrupt hag. That's why no one voted for you. And
she's a hag. She's a hag. I don't care if I get called sexist for saying this. She's a fucking hag. Okay? She is just I don't like her. Okay? She's a bad person. She's corrupt. She's a rape enabler. She's a fucking hag who shits her pants. Okay?
And again,
I don't like her.
And again, the biggest, most obvious, glaring reason we know that she's such an unlikable human being is that you lost an election to Donald Trump. That's how we know.
But my popular vote, she didn't win the popular vote. I mean,
yes, because of California.
Give credit where credit's due. Granted, it doesn't count for shit in a national election, but hey, she was popular. That's somehow 3 million more people than we thought liked her. I think that difference was that she wasn't Trump. So.
She was popular in California. That's really
and New York, and like Austin, Texas. So, Dee, you talked about third wave feminism. So, for those of us, me, who are absolutely stupid, I've heard the term third wave.
So you have
what was the first and second wave? Like, when did that happen?
So like the first.
Damn it! Damn it!
Damn it!
Basically, like the stuff.
I know what she's going for. Damn it!
I don't because I can't.
I know. Well,
and this sort of like that type of thing for sexual revolution.
You're cutting out. It's right when she talks too. It's like she's fine. She's there while we're talking, and then we ask her. It's like ordering. It's like ordering from the dollar menu at Burger King.
I have some familiarity with what she was talking about. I don't offhand remember the second wave, but I know the first wave was like I think she was pointing out the suffragettes. You know, we want women to be able to have equal opportunity, equal things. You know, not things like economically, but you know, be able to do the same things. And I'm not sure about the second way. I want to say that's kind of Christina Hoff Sommers kind of part is, you know, Christina Hoff Sommers, right? The factual feminist.
I don't actually. Here's the thing. I've never studied feminism. Oh, we're gonna have two D's. That's gonna be interesting. I've never actually studied feminism historically, mainly because other than beyond the whole philosophy of like egalitarianism and people are equal, which I believe in. I believe that, you know, men and women are equal. I believe they have the same rights. They should be able to do the same things. That being said, Dee, you need to back out because there's two of you in here. That being said, beyond that, I think anything beyond that is not actually feminism. It's just Marxism masquerading as feminism.
Well, basically.
If I'm a little ignorant to like what third wave refers to or what second wave refers to, it's because to me that's not feminism. That's Marxism. It's Marxism, and what they did is they took the oppressive class or the class warfare language, and they swapped it out for gender warfare. So it's, instead of the bourgeoisie versus the proletariat, it's men versus women.
Right.
That's the only difference. That's what third wave feminism is to me. That's what second wave feminism is to me. Any distinction beyond that, I think, is specious and superficial. It's bullshit.
No,
Dee, are you with us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, and coming strong. Yes.
There is a difference. Third wave feminism is the most recent incarnation where it's basically like no longer much as men or women, which that used to be the discussion of feminism on a sort of explanation, because I hope I don't get cut off again.
We just roll with it, dear. We just good.
But
it's all good.
But basically, third wave feminism is like we're so much more like we don't need men at all. You can sort of see like with people like Lauren Duca and Lena Dunham,
and
to be like beta or a part of national discourse anymore, which is ridiculous.
Which is misandry.
Men and women are.
Well,
men.
You're pro men. It makes you like betas.
Finally.
I apologize. There's going to be a lot of toxic masculinity on this show tonight, and that's why I'm dressed like a big ass lumberjack.
That's probably what's slowing your connection down. It's all the toxic.
I'm blaming the cat. I'm sorry. It's the fucking cat. The cat has got to go.
Well, I would say a percentage of it, but well. I know that, and I know that, you know, I because I know what Dee's going for, and I wish, I don't know what it is with the connection there, but one area that I do know, and I think you're right, that basically feminism today, if you want to call it feminism of the Lena Dunham variety of that sort, is kind of the idea that, like you said, it's oppressor versus oppressed. It's like Mike said, it's basically just we swap out the old terms, the old Bolshevik terms, and throw in new ones, you know. And the thing is that this is actually harmful to women in particular, but across the board, because again, you know, it's harmful to women in that, you know, much like with Hillary Clinton, it assumes that women are basically, you know, helpless, you know, wards who, because the idea is like the superstructure idea that everyone is just being, you know, pushed along a flow, and that basically all that's happening is that women are just helpless victims of the flow, and that basically men just run their decisions, run their lives, influence all their decisions, and then that way when you get women who clearly don't fit what third wave feminists say is true, then they can simply argue, well, that's just because they've internalized misogyny and they've just gotten they're just basically influenced. Again, like Hillary Clinton said, well, the reason you didn't vote for me, because of course in her mind a woman is supposed to vote for me. I remember at one point in her little rant she even said that Republican women didn't vote for me, as though she expected that to happen, because she thinks if you're a woman, you'll vote for the woman, and that's it. And anyone who didn't, it's men's fault. And that's the superstructure thing going.
But the whole stupid thing about it is, to what end? Like, okay, so, you know, they push all these narratives like STEM and the wage gap, which are all bullshit. They've all been debunked. They might as well be called flat Earth.
Right.
What are you going to accomplish? Like, women aren't going to be better off because these third wave feminists, or whatever you want to call them, accomplish their goals. Like, women, if anything, will be worse off. Right. So again, that's why I say you can't really be. I don't think you can call third wave feminism to me is disingenuous. It's not feminism. It's not feminist. It's not egalitarian. You were going to say something?
Yeah, I just sort of want to point out, I mean, the whole, because if you were really truly feminist, then you could look at people only for their ideas, at them for their gender.
Right.
And in fact that she was expecting women to vote for her because she is also a woman is completely antithetical to the whole discussion, because she's saying my ideas don't matter, my genitalia does.
Right. Her vagina has its own voice again, like Bill Nye's little.
My vagina has a voice, but don't you dare say boobs on air! I swear to God.
or apparently, oh, and this is something else I was talking about with a friend of mine, is that if you remember in the wake of the whole James Damore thing, at Google, explaining that women make different decisions that put them in different fields and they make different career choices. But one of the things that they'll say usually is, well, that men are trying to actively keep women out of STEM fields. And this is also true because I'm a geek. I play Magic the Gathering. Don't judge. But the thing is that, like, they'll claim gaming even, not just board gaming, video gaming. Oh, it's a boys' club. They want to keep women out. Really? Have you met the men that are in these things? They would give anything for a girl to be interested in.
They would give the left testicle that they're not using to have girls to play with in their video games, okay?
As well as in STEM. When I took my classes for my technician certificate, we would have given anything. Everyone wanted there to be girls in the class. We had like one girl in the class and she dropped out after 2 weeks in it. Again, we would have given anything. Are you kidding me? Men don't want women in STEM. Bullshit.
Did you guys read that memo? Did you actually go read through the whole Google memo?
Most of it, yeah.
Most of it. Like, I read the first few pages. Honestly, it was a little bit more over my it got into the weeds.
It's okay,
there.
you're a woman. You understand it. We get that.
It's overly technical.
It was all very technical. You're a chick. It's okay, you know. We only
I'm
have
black, so I didn't get it either.
It's okay. We didn't need you to actually explain anything.
Honestly, like, I agree with him. I don't know if the forum was like the absolutely most correct. Like, I'm gonna speak out against this social justice warrior mentality in a very social justice warrior. I mean,
Well, and here's my take on it. Like, so I read through it, and I've actually written memos like he has. I've actually done those kind of reports, I guess you could call them, for companies, so that they can improve their workflow and they can improve the work environment for their employees. That's actually a very common practice. What he wrote, for all its controversy, if you actually read through like the whole thing and you looked at his suggestions and you looked at his root cause analysis of why there's a gap, and you actually implemented what he suggested, it would have accomplished the results that the whole social justice movement says they want to accomplish. More women in tech. He was offering suggestions like, guys, here's a reason why we're not seeing more women in tech. Or at least here's a viable reason. It may not be the reason, but it's a good reason. And we can adjust for this this difference, this gap. We can adjust for it if we do X, Y, and Z. And if we do X, Y, and Z, we'll actually get more women in tech. We'll get more women in leadership. So why don't we do this? Because this is what we say we want to do, but I'm framing it in a way, because I'm framing it in a way that is politically incorrect, you guys are going to shut it down, and you're actually going to shoot yourself in the foot. You're going to cut off your nose to spite your face. It's stupid. It's bullshit. There was nothing wrong with that memo. That memo was actually very well written. It was very non-threatening. And then on top of that, it would have accomplished exactly what the left says they want to accomplish. Like, I didn't get them. What was the big hubbub?
Here's my thing. They don't say they want certain things, but they don't want to actually do anything to accomplish it, because if they accomplish it, then they no longer have something to complain about.
Right.
They like having the political, like having the football player continuously complain about it being there, but they don't want to actually come up with any solutions or accomplishments of fixing it. That's what the issue is. Tell you that, like, in a math or science girl, lack of trying on my dad's part. I was raised by a single dad.
Uh-oh.
So constantly trying to get me to be more scientifically in school, just because he wanted someone to, like, share the nerd with at work. And I mean, I don't know if it's because I'm a girl or what it was, but, like, it just, like, he was trying to do the exact opposite, and it just didn't stick.
So you basically just didn't really, you weren't feeling it on the.
No.
So
I was bored. Like, I was legit from it. Like, he was constantly, like, he would buy Rubik's cubes so that I would solve them when I was a kid.
Oh, that's good.
And I remember when I was in 6th grade science, he, like, wanted me to do a project that I had absolutely no interest in, and that, like, I to him explain it. So of course, when I was explaining it because I hadn't paid all the attention to him, and then I mean, just like super into physics, and I just couldn't, was not like, it was interesting as a topic to me, but I didn't have this. I just didn't have enough interest to pay attention to all the detailed minutia of it. I mean, and the thing is, like, I'll sit and talk to someone, and I'll talk their ear off about, like, American lit or, you know, or something, or details and stories. Like, I'm not, yes, I guess, but at the same time, like, I talk about things that interest me, always trying to get me interested in math and science type things, and I just never went for it.
Yeah, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I suspect that anyone, even if you told them the story that your dad tried to influence you to go into science, they would probably say, no, your other men in your life
patriarchy's why you didn't want to do it. That's what it is. You're a stupid woman who let the patriarchy influence you. I'm going to have an aneurysm now.
And you know.
But the thing is, patriarchy was trying to. I was fighting the patriarchy.
By not going into science.
You gotta resist.
And she did, by not going into science. Switch to the and you know what else is that?
But that's not, wait, hold on, before you go any further. That's actually how stupid feminism is. That's
right.
if our culture, if our culture was like Dee's dad, where it was just like pushing women into STEM, like, feminism would be like, you gotta stop going to math class, guys. You gotta resist the patriarchy. You gotta be stupid. Like, that's, I shit you not. I guarantee you would do that.
Yeah, it's just the opposite of whatever it's. And you know, the funny thing is, and just kind of real world, like, experience I've had with what negatives that, because not only is feminism bad for women, it's just bad across the board. It's bad for everybody, because the thing is that it's also bad for children. And I say this as somebody who has a child that I had to fight for in so-called family courts. And you will find that if you try to make legislation, I know, because I'm at least a small part of kind of helping. There's a congressman here who is spearheading a shared parenting bill, and all the opposition to it, nearly all of it, is women's groups. Across the board is women's groups. You'll find, and when I've been in, what they try to.
What's the rationale for that? Why do they oppose it?
Well, usually the rationale is that they claim that the entire all that shared parenting laws will do is allow men who are abusers to have access to children. And the thing is that, well, that's one of their rationales, because some of their rationales are so stupid you'd have to hear them to believe it. I mean, I did.
It's about, let's be honest, it's alimony, right? Child support.
Well, here's the thing. So here's what it is, because the congressman who's involved with this, I talked to him, and the stuff he told me I couldn't believe until I sat in the rooms and heard it myself, is that they tend to believe, I swear they spend all their time watching Lifetime, because what it is they say, well, like, for instance, they are very heavily against, they're always against, like, for instance, they'll say that when this legislation partly tries to put a higher standard of proof when a woman accuses a man of sexual assault or domestic violence, they are absolutely against that on the argument that if a man is an abuser, you can never prove it because they're wily and slick and you'll never actually find any evidence. So you just have to take the woman's word for it because you'll never get the evidence. And so basically, and again, I heard this personally.
But not in schools.
Huh?
Basically. It's Title IX, but not in schools, basically.
Yeah, pretty much that. And so, yeah, so they say this, and then they say, well, we can't have shared parenting because that would, because their assumption is, and again, the representative of the NOW, and I actually have this written out, I'll have to put it out somewhere, is they said essentially that any men who are not getting their kids the way that they want has to be an abuser. There simply are no cases where that's not true. They're saying that any man who gets like a every other weekend or whatever that's because he just agreed to it, because he understands what would he do with the extra time anyway, because he's a guy. What would he know what to do with the kid? So basically, everybody else is an abuser. Yeah, believe it or not, these are the arguments made. And I sat in hearings. I even testified at one of them, but I was just like, I can't believe this. I just, what? So, feminism hurts as it's practiced today. It really is damaging to everyone. Children don't benefit, men don't benefit, women don't benefit, nobody benefits. It's literally for the purpose of a few women who, I mean, some of them have had just bad experiences with men, and so they chalk it up to, okay, well, all men must be this way. And so they have a tendency to want to attack men and damage wherever they think they can.
Anytime someone says all women or all men, they've been like hurt by someone and they just want to lash out. That's just a general rule of thumb. I do want to talk about Betsy DeVos in Title IX. So yes. Since I'm
that's a nice segue. Let's do it.
I think that we should. Basically, for all of our slightly undecided rocks, Title IX used to be sort of, I think it was like originally like so women could play fair in sports, but with the Obama administration, what happened is like he turned it into basically if you was some type of sexual harassment against a student, you could be kicked out of school and have your entire life ruined without any due process as like safety for the victim. But what it really does is like you could be a student and have a girl say that like party or something, and then a girl says that you raped her, and then you could have your entire life turned upside down, be kicked out of school, and be branded a rapist without ever seeing the inside of a courtroom, without ever having to answer any type of questions or anything, or without ever having to face your accuser. I mean, it's a nightmare. People have actually committed suicide over it. A ton of appeals have been won in courts over it. I mean, it's basically a garbage program that the feminists are going crazy that Betsy DeVos is trying to roll it back. I personally have the belief that like act like adults, but also like if someone is a rapist, the legal court system the way that you're supposed to, the way that we have laws set up in place, do things the right way. Try to.
That's kind of radical in this day and age.
That
I know, right?
Right.
Due process, natural rights. So get out of here.
You right-wing radical.
Like, yeah,
you fucking extremist.
Process what they literally want is like every Friday. Right before the football game, you just hang up all the people accused of sexual assault that week. That's basically what feminists. So it's I mean, to me, like, what Betsy DeVos is doing is like absolutely makes sense and needs to happen, and the outcry that has been against her and the public outcry on an insane level. That's
it's accurate to say Obama weaponized Title IX, and Betsy DeVos is kind of disarming the government. Is that fair?
Yes. Removing the government from the schools.
Or she's disarming. I guess you could say she's disarming
the schools. Well, because if I recall correctly, Title IX kind of hands the there we go, kind of hands a lot of power to the schools themselves to kind of hash out whether or not a sexual assault was committed. That's the impression I got. Was it was something about where rather than governments do, the typical law enforcement system dealing with sexual assault, it kind of handed power to the schools themselves to determine whether or not these things happen, and the schools are nowhere near equipped to do this.
Yes and no. The schools, a lot of schools, because like they don't aggressively go after students, have been found to be in violation of Title IX policies. Technically, because of all of the Title IX policies that have been in existence. And I mean, I was actually out to dinner with a professor at Madison, Wisconsin, who he basically deals with Title IX, where he actually had to go before like whatever, because he glared at a student in school. And he got in trouble over it, and he had to go to a committee to like basically defend himself against glaring.
Oh God!
It's funny. So this very much reminds me of a couple experiences I had while I was a student when I was studying at BYU. Because here's the funny thing, and I think you can tell me, Dee, if what after I share this, if it ties in or not. So I had there's two experiences. One is kind of just an overall observation, and then one is an actually very personal experience that happened to me. So just my overall observation at BYU is that girls had a tendency, and you can imagine, like, it's BYU, it's Utah, right? It's Provo, Utah, so it's a bubble within a bubble within a bubble. You can imagine there's a lot of awkward guys, awkward Mormon guys that aren't the smoothest when it comes to like approaching the opposite sex. Not me, by the way. Okay, let's be very clear. I was not that guy.
Yeah, sure it isn't. Sure it isn't.
I'm smooth as fuck, y'all. Anyway, but here's the thing. You can imagine there's a lot of awkward guys, and what I found both interesting from a kind of just people watching perspective, but absolutely infuriating as a guy just to see it happen to other guys. It's like, you guys are assholes. Is if a girl liked a guy, it didn't matter how awkward he was. It didn't matter how clumsy he was in his approach. If he kept getting shot down, but the girl liked him and she was just playing hard to get, then it's like, oh, he's so romantic. He's such a sweetheart. Same guy, if he's like a nerdy, pimply-faced weirdo who just like kind of gives off that stalker vibe, or doesn't know how to like actually approach women. He could be doing the exact same thing as the other guy that the girl liked, but just because she didn't like him, oh, you're a stalker, ew, like, oh God, go away. and then people doing the exact same thing. You got two guys. You have one attractive guy who like is just clumsy and awkward, but he's good looking and the girl likes him. And then you have the same like pimply faced awkward dude that is doing the same exact thing. And the only difference between whether one is a stalker or not is whether the girl liked him. And it happened more often than you thought. Right. Nobody ever got kicked out of school for that or like, had their life ruined.
What did you say? Title IX. like the Title IX situation, in that it's very applied. You know, it's basically case by case, but they don't really have any clear standards of when they apply the rules or when they don't apply the rules, and they could apply it at literally
a football star or somebody who's really popular or part of the student body, like somebody like, okay, we can't you know, we can't prosecute this guy because it'll just look really bad, it'll be really public, then it just gets swept under the rug. Is that, and then if it's some nobody or somebody that on campus that's unpopular that nobody likes, like the, you know, he's the president of the campus Republicans or something, like, oh, okay, we're gonna throw the book at this guy. I'm assuming that's something that happens for him.
Sort of. Have you heard the story about Mattress Girl at Columbia?
Yeah. Yep.
Right around a mattress for her senior year, saying that she was raped on that mattress and that Columbia didn't do anything. It's a pretty big Title IX case.
Yeah.
A reporter.
Sanitary.
Well, she wasn't carrying it with the sheets. It was just a plain mattress.
Okay.
Just the mattress. There we go.
Yeah, it's kind of great.
But like, it was like a performance art stunt that she did. But anyways, the story.
I forgot if we call any stupid stunt performance art, it like makes it like legit form of activism, even if it's bullshit.
Right.
But anyways,
sorry, continue.
Like the story is like she and the guy encounter and would text each other, and there were times that she reached out to him. He wasn't accused of it months later after the initial encounter took place.
That kind of sounds like she got probed by aliens.
They had sex with each other.
So yes.
Oh.
Say anything to school until.
So E.T. didn't anally probe her or anything like that.
About him, national student from Germany, and then he didn't even know who his accuser was, and she was still reaching out and talking to him, accusing him as well. And then other girls would come forward, questioned by the school. So it was just very. I mean, it's a very, like he said, she said, but it's on like, you don't have to, like, your accuser doesn't have to face you because they want to protect the accuser's feelings.
Right.
So like, there's no way to like question or anything. And instead of innocent until proven guilty, it's guilty until you can prove yourself innocent. And there's a reason that we have the mindset, and they're completely ignoring it and going opposite. And then it turns out that she's lied, and on top of that, she's like recently did another art installation after Trump was elected, where she berate her while she's suspended from a ceiling in a bikini and high heels, U.S. American flag bikini, and it's just so stupid. And I mean, she obviously sexualizes herself for attention.
Well, and I noticed that
guy was fire.
You reminded me of something that that Thomas Sowell would say, is that, and this applies in a lot of things that the left tends to do, is that feminism also views men as he calls it, an intertemporality. So basically the idea that when a lot of people point out that, okay, you can't use this thing because a lot of men will be wrongly prosecuted, their answer is, well, it doesn't matter, that if some men get wrongfully prosecuted, that makes up for other men who get away with it. And, you know, because again, the way that intersectional femininity, because that's, I guess, really how it works now, is practiced, is that's the whole point, is that since it's an intertemporality, it doesn't really matter which men, all men, since every man is just faceless member of white man group number one or whatever, then it means that all of them basically bear the same burden, which means essentially there is no such thing, according to them, as wrongly accusing men of rape, because, well, some men are rapists, and it doesn't matter. As long as you prosecute one of them, it's all the same. So as a result, I think that's one of the reasons why feminists are going crazy over Title IX, because they don't care whether or not anyone is wrongly prosecuted or wrongly persecuted is a better term, you know, over these things, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. The men are getting what's coming to them. The patriarchy is getting what's coming to them. And who cares whether or not that particular guy is guilty of anything? They're part of the system, and therefore they get, you know, they basically, we get to watch some man squirm for the crimes of men in general, you know. So it's an intertemporal, or even men historically. So you know, it's just collectivism. Again, that collectivist thinking also hurts a lot, because.
But you know, it's so funny, because that just becomes, and feminists love to point to this time period as evidence of like sexism in history and how, you know, women have always been victims. But this becomes the Salem witch trials, where you're just accused of something, and you're not accused because you did anything. You're accused of it because you pissed off the wrong person, and they just want to make your life, you know, a flaming garbage fire. I actually had this experience when I was in college. So I used to work as a janitor at BYU. That was just something I did to have a little extra money. And I had a friend, and she and I, you know, we liked to joke around, and we had fun. And BYU in the spring and the summer terms would actually hire high school students from the local high school, just because the student count was kind of low and they needed the bodies. So me and my friend we're talking like we normally talk. We're joking. We're not. It wasn't anything that was inappropriate or unsuitable for work. But these were sheltered Mormon kids that we were working with, who like I shit you not, they asked us one time, and these were like 15, 16, 17-year-old girls in high school, asking us like what masturbation was.
Oh God.
And we're like, you need to talk to your parents, kids. We're not going to answer that question, but you need to talk to your parents. They're like, oh, well, we tried and they wouldn't explain it to us. And I'm like, well, that's not my fucking problem. I'm not having this conversation with you, because we didn't like them anyway.
Right.
And I think my friend, she pulled them aside, because I was like, I'm not touching this one. Do you want to talk to them? Because I ain't answering that question. No. So I think my friend did pull them aside, and kind of explained it to them quietly and discreetly and clinically. Like she wasn't raunchy or anything, although she had a very raunchy personality. That's why she and I got along. That's why we were friends. And sure enough, later we had a religious discussion about Mormon culture, and we you know, they didn't like my take on a certain particular doctrine, and I was right. And I knew the history, I knew the church doctrine. I've been defending my faith for years, so I knew exactly what to say and where to reference, and that pissed them off. And so they said some things that pissed me off, and so then I went on Facebook, and I just went off. Like I didn't go off on them per se, but I was basically subtweeting them. This is before Twitter, but I was basically passive aggressively making fun of them and their stupid views, and cussing them out a little bit. And this is back before I kept my Facebook like locked down airtight. So I found out the hard way that these kids were actually like stalking my Facebook, and what they ended up doing is they took the what I wrote on Facebook, and they used that as evidence that I was the kind of person that said inappropriate things at work, and then they tried to use the masturbation question against me and my friend, and we ended up having to resign. Now my friend's dad was a lawyer, so they couldn't fire us. Because we said, if you fire us or if you discipline us like through the school, we'll fucking sue you. So the university was like, well, okay, we won't do anything, but you can't keep working. Like we're not going to let you keep working. I'm like, well, then you'll let us resign and fuck you. So, but that, I mean, that's the kind of thing that I would absolutely see happening, is you piss off the wrong person, and what are they going to do? They're going to complain. They're going to say, well, that you sexually harassed them, what you sexually assaulted. They don't have to have any proof. They'll just point to something in your social media or in your conduct or in your language as proof. Like, oh, see, because he said that thing before, you can believe me when I said he said this thing. It's like, no, those things are absolutely independent of each other.
Right.
Like, I'm a vulgar person. I made poor John's mom blush, which, I mean, you've got to admit, that's saying something. Like, holy cow, all right? You know what I'm saying?
You realize now she's going to watch this, right? She's going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you told him that. I was like, but
John's mom, I want to apologize for all my past behavior, and in advance, I can't promise you I won't stop. That's not a promise I can keep. I just want you to know I do love you. And I'm sorry that I've made you blush.
It's a shame that Dee is not here because she loves Dee, but
yeah, of course Dee's not here to, like, this is the part where your mom should be like, fuck this, I'm not gonna watch this shit. She won't be as potty mouthed about it, obviously. It becomes a Salem witch trials. It's just now the witches, the heretics, are men.
White men,
it's going to be conservative men, right. And I have a problem with that, being a conservative male.
Right. Well, and also I find that this is also, and I know it's brushing a couple of topics together, but like I always used to tell people, you know how you say the people, like the left, likes to talk about slavery this, slavery that, but they only want to talk about slavery from 150 years ago. And I say, well, there's slavery today. The only type of slavery today that the left seems willing to deal with is like sex slavery, specifically of girls in like Southeast Asia. The reason why, because again, it's not about the slavery, it's about who can we blame. The reason they don't want to talk about slavery that's going on today is because the people perpetrating it are not white men. And in the case of slavery 150 years ago, you could blame white people. In the case of sex slavery of girls, you can blame men. So hence the reason why they only want to talk about, oh, the sex slave, and again, it is horrible. The sex slavery of any, again, because the boys also get thrown into that too. But, and as horrible a thing as it is, and it is, but it's the only one the left will ever touch. They don't want to deal with, the slavery of anybody where they can't blame either white people or men. That's pretty much how that goes. So, you know, it's frustrating.
Let's just point out, the only reason Dee is not here is because toxic masculinity.
There you go. Yeah. Well, only half of it's white.
We can't have women in our club. Okay,
Yep, it's a boys' club. That's how it goes.
She was here long enough to introduce feminism. She's our token, right? That's what she's our token. She's our token chick. And now we don't need her, so we just we cut her internet. We told the patriarchy, all right, she's done here. Go ahead, cut her internet.
Right? Because of course we also have patriarchy contacts over it. Who's her ISP? I don't even know.
It's how we countermand her Jewish influence. Right?
Yep, there we go.
Her elders are combating our patriarchy, I think.
I love it.
That's how that works.
All these things undercut each other, and it's so funny to watch because just in general, leftists on these issues are so funny because, again, speaking of dealing with feminism, when it comes to, you know, leftists who want to claim we are the defenders of women, leftists can't even keep straight what a woman is. So, I mean, all of your claims to, oh yeah, we love women. Also, we're not sure what women are because we're pretty sure they can also have penises. So it's like, yeah, that really. you can't defend much of anything when you can't pin down simple terms like what's a woman. Okay, this is kind of simple stuff here. You know, I never thought I'd see the day that kid on Kindergarten Cop would become a controversial figure. You know, just
yeah, I saw that somebody posted that gift and it showed up on my.
Boys have a penis and girls have vagina.
That showed up on my timeline. And I'm like, and they just, I watched it and I chuckled because I remember that movie when I was a kid. Right. I watched it. I probably was in kindergarten when that movie. Right. I probably wasn't, not that old. But I was like, kind of giggled, and I thought like, wow, can you imagine if that movie, as it is, without any changes whatsoever,
came out
if
today.
that movie came out today,
oh
and
my
that little
God.
kid was like, boys have a penis, girls have a vagina. Like, how controversial would that be? Like, how many people would just like flip their goddamn shit? Like, it would just be ridiculous.
It would be. I was just thinking about that. We're getting to the point where there's so many lists of movies you can't make today. I know Steven Crowder had a list of movies you wouldn't be able to make again today. Obviously, one of them being Blazing Saddles. So oddly enough, it wasn't at the top of the list. Actually, it was
Blazing Saddles.
Ironic. I know. I love that movie. Are you kidding me? I watched that movie and I absolutely loved it. No, right? They were just like, I love that. It's beautiful. I love it. And especially because I heard about the behind the scenes stuff, but I guess we'll leave that for another time. But
it looks like Dee is coming back just in time for us to wrap the show up. I feel poor Dee.
I do feel bad. I was going to say, should you get another turn next week?
Mulligan! Do over.
Do over. Or do I get that one? Because I had an idea, but still. Yeah. Oh man. Well, again, we're really sorry that happened. We can't seem to do this without at least some measure of technical problems. It's just
Google. If Google would just stop wasting their time, like trying to ferret out conservatives and actually fix their fucking shit. I'm sorry, I went on a little rant here. Okay. We wouldn't have these fucking problems. We could probably cure cancer while we're fucking at it. Pisses me off. I'm on a rage when it comes to Google.
I'm gonna make sure that my mom doesn't watch the last 5 minutes.
Sorry.
There we go. I think we got it more or less.
Dee is back just in time to wrap this show up. All right.
Oh man, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, guys. My internet has been really shitty all day. So, of course, the week that I get to host and I'm not here.
I know.
We explained that we only have you around here to look pretty. And once you introduce the whole feminism thing, we can take it from here. We told the patriarchy shut her down, which is good.
Yep, we called them. We totally know. We even told them.
Don't fuck with your internet. I'm not just been playing with makeup brushes to really screw with people. No.
It's just we told them because we know your ISP. We totally know what it is. Don't ask me, but I know what it is. So.
But I don't know what that is. But so basically, 3 weeks from now, y'all are gonna be super happy with me. I'm anti-feminist, but I'm also anti-patriarchy for shutting down my internet and not letting me talk. So
you're coming in loud and clear too. How funny is that?
Oh, right? It's good now that we're like turning it off, right?
What? No. Well, yeah. Are we? Yeah, I guess so because we're an hour in. But now you're coming in perfectly. It's terrible. I don't.
Any final comments you want to make before we wrap this up?
Yes. Basically, I think that the whole deconstruction of women's and men's roles have led to complete insanity on everyone's part, and I think that a return to like structure and a return to just letting people be people and do what they are good at without trying to force specific situations is overall going to be better in the long run.
Okay, so we'll go over a little bit just because you've had a rough night tonight. Because I kind of want to. So wait, how do you go back to structure then if you're letting people do what they want to do? I mean, I agree. I kind of think I understand what you're trying to say. I just want to. So
basically, the whole issue is like I feel like the left is trying to force, like when they say like women should, do something, they're trying to force women to be a certain way. Like, they don't accept that being a housewife is what some women want to do. Or, you know, I mean, right now we have where, like, we sort of need people to be at 2-income families in order to, like, properly raise their kids and live in the middle class lifestyle. So it's not so much that, like, you know, all the women should stay home in the kitchen and cooking and cleaning. But I definitely, like, when you try and force people to be interested in something that they're not going to be interested in, i.e. like STEM or science or something, like, you're not really helping the situation. You're just putting people and making them miserable overall and over the life of what they're doing. But, like, for instance, me and my friend Jess on Twitter, we joke about how much we just want to be stay-at-home moms and have babies all the time, and, you know, marry rich, make sandwiches for them. But, like,
traitor to your gender.
It's joking, but it's serious at the same time. Like, you know, I've always wanted to be a teacher, or, you know, just something involved with kids, because I've always been very, like, mothery, sort of, in terms of, I was the oldest and I always took care of my other siblings, and that's always been something that I've had a strong affinity towards. Telling me that I have to be interested in math or science or engineering, and if I don't, then I'm not, like, a good woman, or that I'm just a tool of the patriarchy, I think is stupid and antithetical to what, you know, real feminism was back in the day. Switch to the roles that they were more a part of or in tune to would, like, for instance, if women want to be homemakers, if women want to be teachers, or, you know, be on the more, like, not in so much the technical field, in the traditional fields, let it be, let it happen, let them do what they want. Obviously, there's going to be some women who are, like, CEOs and great at, you know, what they do and everything, and, like, I'm totally for that, like, if it makes them, like, if it's what floats their boat. But let the women who want to do that do that. Like, don't try and force other people to be put in that specific situation.
Right.
I mean, and I don't think that's radical, and I don't think, maybe it's, like, I'm not saying you have to be home barefoot and pregnant in the kitchen.
It's your choice. It's your choice, right?
I'm saying it's your choice, and I'm saying that you shouldn't be forced to be a certain way. Like, there's a reason women aren't in sales so much. Like, for instance, I work in the sales industry. There's a reason. It's more risky, and the payout is greater, but it's a lot more time intensive. And you know what? I personally, like, I'm good at sales, but I freaking hate it with every passion bone in my body. Like, it's an irritating position, and I understand why men like it, and, like, men have a more, on general, competitive nature than women do.
I hate sales.
And you could almost make a kind of evolutionary argument too here, that women maybe are predisposed to risk aversion, whereas men are the opposite. Because if you look at how, for example, men are wired to, theirs is a broadcast strategy when it comes to reproducing, right? They'll fuck anything with legs. And even then, they're not that particular. It's just how we are. We're biologically horny. Okay, that's how we are. It's okay. It's natural. Women, on the other hand, are more conservative. They don't want to be, not naturally anyway. They don't want to be in a situation where they might get knocked up and then stuck with a baby, and then there's no one to help provide for them while they're pregnant and vulnerable, and then while they're taking care of a child and vulnerable. And so, and obviously there are exceptions, there are outliers to that trend, but I almost wonder if there's a biological component there too. The idea that, okay, I'm not going to take if I'm a woman, I'm not going to take a high risk job because it's not my nature to take high risk, because my nature is I've got to play it safe. I've got to make sure that I have what I need to provide for my offspring. Whereas men are like, hey, I just got to go out and take it. Like, I want it, I'm going to take it. And obviously civilization tempers those instincts, and that's where gender roles kind of come into play.
I think on a whole, like, women need stability, in our lives, you know. So like we're gonna take the jobs that like have, you know, set salaries or whatever. And like the thing is, like women don't, part of the reason like women don't fight for promotions or raises so much is because they're okay with the status quo. Like companies aren't offering them what?
It's that risk
aversion. Risk aversion, yeah.
Right, it's risk aversion.
You're avoiding risk because no risk, no reward is the male mentality.
Right, exactly. And women are okay with sort of maintaining like whatever the status quo. So like a company is never
two in the bush.
A company is never going to say to someone, I'm going to give you a raise as the purpose of nothing. I don't know if I said that right, but a company is never going to just give you a raise. It's something that you need to physically like say, hey, I feel that I'm worth this much and I've worked here for such and such an amount of time and I should get a raise, you know, and then you negotiate your pay. But a company is never going to reach out to you. If they're paying you a certain amount, they're paying you that certain amount. Right. And if you'll do the work for that pay, then you're doing the work for that pay.
and I might.
Sorry.
I might add that what you said at the beginning is important about choice, because there was one feminist in Australia who, while what she said was utterly egregious, at least she was honest, which was, she said the problem with feminism is choice. She said that honestly, as long as we allow women to make their own decisions, they won't be equal in the workplace with men, because she admitted women tend to choose to want to do things that differently than men. So she said that if we truly want parity with men, we have to take that choice away from women. And that really is the core problem with feminism today, is the idea that it's not about what women choose. See, again, that was the first and the second waves were not at all averse to the choice. But the modern feminist groups they hate choice. The idea is that the goal is parity. And it means if you lose choice, then fine.
All right. And I 100% agree, and I think that that's actually a good spot that we can finish here. And I do want to say, everyone, follow us on Twitter. Mike is OrneryYG. John is Kamui Hirayoko.
Hirayoko. I'm sorry, it's in Japanese, so people are going to be confused.
I'm never going to say it right then.
That's okay.
And then I hate _everyone too. I don't.
She doesn't really hate everyone.
And apparently, there was an I hate everyone already.
Yeah.
That's why you had to be two. So that's what it was.
I'm always number two.
It's probably because, and he was probably a dude.
Probably.
There's a patriarchy at work there.
Yeah. So anyways, follow us all on Twitter. You can find our links in Mike's page, OrneryYG. Guys, be nice to me. I need to hit 2,000. It'll make me feel better. Okay?
She's so mad that I hit 2,000 before she did. That's what you get for talking shit, by the way. I thought that was hilarious. I'm like, shit, she's gonna beat me, and then I'm gonna have to like listen to her talk smack for like the rest of the month. And then I posted that thread on DACA, and I hit 2,000. I'm like, yeah.
And I was going to say, as for next week, I believe I struck upon what I want to go for on that one. So I want to talk about what is called elitist paternalism. Basically, just what I think really is the motivation of leftist ideology today. What drives it? What makes it do what it does? So that's what I'm going for. We're
gonna title that show "Who's Your Daddy."
There you go. I like it. See.
All right, folks. Thanks for putting up with our technical difficulties. You did a great job. Yeah, and like she said, follow us on Twitter and feel free to comment on my timeline or hers or John's as well. And you guys have a good night. We'll see you next week, same time.